Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It has been a little while since I've loaded a video. Some of you may have seen me try to do a live the other day. I was sent some cameras and I was trying to test them out. Not too successfully, to be honest with you. So I thought I would just come on and film basically what I was going to show in that live, which was this sketchbook page. What I was going to do was basically use some of these flowers that I've drawn on this side, and I thought I would paint them, draw them on this side, so and just chat. So a little bit of an experiment, because, and this is what you probably won't see, this page I have coated in a transparent gesso. It is very, very rough, a little bit like sandpaper. Why am I doing that? Good question. I don't really have any proper answer for you other than it's because I wanted to see how it would react with different mediums, and also if there's any kind of different effects that I would get. So this side is uncoated, it's just a normal sketchbook page, and then this side has been I've drawn the wreath and then I've coated it in a transparent clear gesso. Actually what I did was I mixed a bit of clear gesso with matte medium. I did half and half. And I just wanted to see what kind of effect it would have on the materials, mixed media that I would use, and a bit of watercolour, neocolour, markers, and see if there's any difference in the final result. This is kind of what I was starting to sketch when I tried my live stream. So I'll just pick up from where I left off. I'll maybe talk about what mediums I'm using and what happens, how it feels when I'm doing it. And it'll be interesting to see if you notice any difference. Maybe also chat about what I've been up to, what's been going on. So I've got a couple of brushes that I am going to maybe use. So yeah, I've kind of been treating these neocolours like watercolours a little bit. And yeah, I quite like the way you can apply them in that way. I find that there's a little bit of resist as well, working on top of the gesso. When I have used watercolour, definitely feels more of a resist. So you can see, not even sure whether it will dry when I put it on. Kind of beading in parts. But it creates an interesting texture, which is what I like about it. Let me show you what happens with the marker. So this is just a Tombow. So again, I can really feel the texture of the gesso. In comparison, it's quite smooth on there. See if I use the thinner Ooh, yeah, that's, you can hear that, can't you? Try, this is a Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer. You can hear that texture, can't you? See if I can add. Yeah, now if I add water to it, it does bead up and move around quite well. I think you could also lift this off probably quite easily. Yeah, look at that. So because I've got that gesso on it, it really, you can lift it off if you don't like it. So I think this would definitely be handy if you're working in lots of layers, because makes the paper a lot more durable and probably won't pile or form piles, which is sometimes I've experienced. Going to this one, you can see again it's dried in little pools, but it re-wets and I could lift it off again. So it kind of gives a more muted finish. Try this green, which I know is quite dark. So that's quite nice, you can soften it up and move it around. See, I wouldn't be able to add this much water without the paper beginning to fall apart, and particularly layering like that. So you can get some really nice actually texture working in that way. Nice. Yeah, and that watercolour on this one is definitely muted itself a lot. I'm just using what's on the brush to do those leaves. But yeah, there's some really nice granulation there as well. Interesting. That's just from using the brush markers. It'd be interesting to see how like luminance pencils will work on top of this. In the original here, or on this side, you can see just that texture there quite easily. You can see it's a lot brighter. Wow. So that texture really shows up more. You can see it grainy, very grainy on top. This is an Inktense pencil, so I can again dilute it down. But yeah, that's, again, I'm using another layer, putting another layer on, and the paper is staying intact. Add some more water to that, yeah. So the more water again I add, it starts loosening it up again, and I think I could probably lift that up with a paper towel. 3. interesting to know. It's, so the same with the Neocolour, it's very shows up the texture, but I could go over now with water. If I don't like that, I can pull it up quite easily. So I'm going to just use a polychromos on this side. That is definitely darker than on paper, so it definitely makes the colours more darker. Paper that hasn't had it on, it's definitely darker. Let's put some orange. So I'm using an Inktense pencil here. See that grain? Almost a bit like pastel. Looks very pastel-y. I'm gonna wet it. Wow, yeah, I could use a lot of water on this and it's not going to ruin the paper. Get a very creamy result actually. Let's try watercolour. That's a contrast. It's interesting. Again, you can see the texture, the resist. Produces quite a nice result though. Quite like that. Let's try Tombow as well. Maybe not that colour, but so yeah, that's a lot smoother. Nice. Because it's almost like a resist, then the watercolour probably take a bit longer to dry, I think. Bit of grey. Inktense pencil over the top of the Neocolour. Goes quite well. just straight Inktense over the top, so it has a grainy appearance. See, I can still take off layers if I add water to it. And this is still wet, so I'm used to things drying pretty quickly, so this is when I'm thinking, well, as I'm waiting, I guess I can chat with what I've been up to. So over the summer, there's been a lot of different kind of work going on. My computer sadly needed to be changed, so I had to get a new computer, transfer a lot of stuff over, so just basically was slowing down to a point where it was quite hard to do anything. So yeah, I just had to change things over. And then my illustration website that I share my illustration work on, that also needed to be redone. So I spent quite a bit of time working on that and redesigning it, having to change the template. I use WordPress, so I had to find a new template and then work out how to transfer everything over. So, you know, that kind of thing takes a lot of time. And then I also had client projects on the go, so doing an advent calendar in June, although that actually is still, well, almost done. And also I was creating my own calendar as well, which has just been released. So it is now available for pre-order on my website. So I'm very happy that that is done. And this time instead of doing one picture per month, you'll see that I've scanned my pictures from my sketchbooks, and each month there's a selection of sketchbooks, drawings. So doing the prompts that I've been doing over the months has really helped to get me producing work. And so I had quite a lot of work to choose from, and also now it's seasonal, which I quite like, the fact that it's seasonal, because it means that you've got colour palettes and the mood fits with the season. Unless, of course, you're in the southern hemisphere. But yeah, if you're in the northern hemisphere, then it all makes sense. So yeah, that's my calendar, and that was just finished recently. So yeah, all these things take time. Some of you may remember I talked about my wildflower course, which is still in the works, but obviously it's just had to take a little bit of a back seat as I've had to work on some other things. But hopefully that will be back on track and I can start working on that again. So that is the update. So as you can see, this paper now can take a lot, but it's almost like working on sandpaper. So you get very grainy effects with the pencil definitely working on top of it, and also the Neocolor as well. Not sure if I quite like that. I think it's maybe a bit too much. Can't really get really subtle. Well, actually with the watercolour, if it was just watercolour, probably you would get quite subtle effects. But I think with the, you can see actually with the oil pit pencil, this is normally quite light and grey, but on the gesso it's a lot darker, and that's I think what it does to all of the pencils. It makes the colour a lot more saturated. If you want that, that's probably be quite nice to play with. Yeah, it definitely makes colours a lot brighter than they are. Yeah, you can't be as subtle with it. I think I'll leave it there. A little bit of a play. Been interesting to play on a clear gesso to see the effects that you get. I'm sure there's more effects that you can get, and also it'd be interesting to try on just white gesso, which I've heard is a lot smoother and you don't get the texture. It is interesting to try different things and see how it affects the mediums that you use, and a sketchbook is a great place to do that in, to give things a go. So I hope you enjoyed this very experimental video, this short video, and that you enjoyed just sketching and tuning in today. Hope you're well, and hopefully I will be back very soon.